Hey everyone, welcome to the Coach Catalyst podcast. This show is about helping you grow as a coach by standing on the shoulders of giants. Each show, you get a different mentor in your ear. The early motivations, the successes, the failures, the tools, the tricks, and the insight into where the industry is going. All of it so you can make your own dent in the world. Remember, success leaves clues. Now, without further ado, on to the show.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Coach Catalyst podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Whitwer. On today's episode, I have the man, the myth, the legend behind one of the best equipment companies in our industry, Perform Better, the one and only Chris Poirier. Now, most of you know Perform Better because of the summits that they run. They run 4 major summits throughout the year. It's how I got introduced to Perform Better as a young coach, and why I'm very grateful for Perform Better because of the education I got through those summits and the people I got introduced to. So thank you to Perform Better for that. They are also an equipment company, but I think what sets them apart is the care that they have for the people that are purchasing the equipment. They're an equipment company for owners, for trainers, for coaches, for therapists, and they do a good job of really taking care of the person. Now, in this episode, I wanted to dig into the background of Perform Better. How did it get started? What were some of their struggles early on? How did they find traction in this industry? And how have they been successful for the last 20 years? We get into that and everything else Perform Better in this episode with Chris Poirier. Chris Poirier, welcome to the Coach Catalyst podcast.
Hey, Trevor. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Man, it's good to have you on. I'm going to kind of fanboy here for a little bit, but I've been a Perform Better fan since probably my inception in the fitness industry. So probably about 15 years now. And so I appreciate, especially the education that you guys are putting out. It was very pivotal in the beginning, early years. I learned a lot from the guys on the Perform Better circuit in my early days of coaching. So just want to thank you for that right off the bat.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for being part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been rocking and rolling for a while now. And the whole goal of this podcast is to really look behind the scenes, behind the curtains of some really cool brands in our industry. And Perform Better is definitely one of the top brands in our industry, especially from like an equipment and also from like an education standpoint. But let's kind of reverse the clock here a little bit, and let's go way back to the inception of Perform Better. So tell me a little bit about the structure, because Perform Better is actually part of kind of a bigger conglomerate of other companies, correct?
Correct. So the name of the company is actually MF Athletic Company. Little brief, quick history about MF Athletic is we've been around for about 65 years. It was a family business started by Bill Falk. Bill was a track and field coach. And Bill started it back in the 60s with one product. And he invented the product. It was a heel protector. And Bill invented the product because he was a track coach where he was constantly getting plantar fasciitis with his jumpers. He was a pole vault high jumper coach, was specifically what who he really worked with. And he was getting a lot of plantar fasciitis. So he was looking for a way to relieve some of the pain, relieve some of that constant pounding into the heel on that penultimate step. And he came up with the heel cup. First of its kind. It was one size, basically the 2 sizes, a small and a regular, or a junior and a regular, and just put it in your shoe. It's a hard plastic that after you wear it for a couple of weeks, it sort of molds to your heel, and molds right, stays inside of your shoe. And he had a lot of success with that. And that's what started MF Athletic. Well, as Bill was weaning himself out of track and field coaching, Bill started MF Athletic Everything Track and Field, where he started to distribute track and field products, pole vaulting poles, shot puts, javelins. It was back in the 70s and 80s, basically when Bill, when getting track and field implements was very difficult during the season. So Bill would stock them at his house. He would buy in volume, and then he would send out pamphlets and flyers to track coaches. Hey, if you need something that's, during the season, we have it in stock. So that really started the ball rolling with the catalog of everything track and field. In 92, Bill had this idea to branch out into a different realm, he always felt that, people, all sports should train similar to track and field. meaning that you have to, you need to run, jump, throw.
Right.
You need to have stamina, all the components of athleticism.
Yep.
He felt that why don't we use our track and field platform, but also, build off and to go out after, at the time, it was basically football coaches. Seeing, back in the early 90s, football coaches had pretty much the majority of the money in the strength and conditioning world.
Right.
And going after them with implements, functional training products to get them, obviously like medicine balls and stability balls and bands too, and just not so much the weight end of it, but more the functional end of the products. And that's when I came in to actually head it up. I was a football coach, high school football coach. I knew Bill. He coached track at the school that I played football at. And I was looking to transition of getting out of football, leaving coaching. And so it was sort of a perfect fit. I came on day one just to head up, perform better, and to basically he gave me the reins to take it where I wanted to. And, obviously we started out with football as our first sport, going after sports performance in football. And obviously since then we branched out fitness, rehab, and obviously in every sport.
So, in the early days with football, were you selling more performance stuff, whether it's like ladders and cones and that kind of thing? Or were you doing like pads and helmets and all of that as well?
No. So we were doing the heavy weightlifting stuff. So we weren't involved into the racks and the weight plates yet. But we were really more involved into the medicine ball, the stuff that you could use on the field, the agility ladders. We were really more, let's do more speed training for football. Let's get kids quicker, faster, more agile. Let's get them more, plyometric stuff, whether it's boxes or med balls. We were, all right, we had a power section in there. So we had a lot of different power products, that we put in there. So it wasn't really a traditional strength training catalog but it was, there's still half the catalog today is the same stuff that we started off with, 30 years ago.
Okay. Awesome. So, starting a new division from scratch, you're going after a different market. What were some of the challenges in those early days of trying to get some traction in a different market?
Well, to tell you the truth, the toughest traction we had was we came out. Well, first of all, we came with a platform, and when we first started, we basically had a consultant by the name of Vern Gambetta, who actually at the time was a director of conditioning for the Chicago White Sox. And Vern started a seminar that was basically based off of functional training. It was building and rebuilding the athlete, but it basically was what is functional training and changing our how we think about strength and conditioning, not just from a weight room standpoint, not just from a bench and squat, but other components to build an athlete. And so Vern actually started to get our mind thinking. So everything that we had was basically based off of functional training. Is it functional? Does it fit the mold of that? We just didn't want to come out and to be the average weight company, and sell plates and dumbbells.
My favorite thing about Coach Catalyst.
One of the things I love most about Coach Catalyst.
There are lots of things I love about Coach Catalyst.
And the reason why I love Coach Catalyst is that
the accountability off the back of that
is simplicity.
The support is amazing.
It allows me to give so much of me to my clients.
It's the drip feeding of content.
I can schedule lessons for my clients in advance.
Game changer for freeing up time.
It gives me my time back.
It's so simple and so easy.
Hi, I'm Kane, the founder of Coach Catalyst, the #1 accountability and communication software on the market today. We help coaches just like you keep their clients accountable and scale their business beyond what they've ever been able to do before. So if that sounds like something you want, let's take a look at how we can help. So Coach Catalyst was built on the 4 C's of coaching. Those are content, communication, community, and consistency. So for content, you need to go beyond just workouts and deliver the whole experience for the client so they get the results they deserve. For communication, you need to own your communication. If you don't own the communication, you don't own the client. So make sure you stop texting clients and use a centralized platform. For communities, get off of Facebook groups and take ownership over your social group with Coach Catalyst communities. And for consistency, the foundation of all results for clients, we took the best-selling book Atomic Habits and built all of these fundamentals right within our app that's going to guarantee to get your clients the best results possible. If you want to start using the 4 C's with your clients, content, connection, community, and consistency, make sure you run over to Coach Catalyst and start a free trial today.
I mean, so at the time, were the other people that were in your space, were they typically the barbells, plates, rack systems, that kind of thing? And so were you able to kind of set yourselves apart with this kind of functional training type equipment?
Exactly. So that's what set us apart, was the functional training. So nobody was like us at the time. There wasn't anyone that was preaching functional training. There wasn't anyone that was out educating, on functional training. And Vern's seminar was basically a prelude into that. And it was a great 2-day seminar on basically talking about what functional training is and new concepts and how to train athletes and rehab athletes, is basically what that seminar was. So that was our initial platform. So the hardest part about it was getting people away from the, in the early 90s was we're out on this ledge of preaching functional training. And, that was sort of an uphill battle, because at the time everything was, okay, it's not strength and conditioning if it's not done in the weight room.
Right.
That was sort of the philosophy back then. So we're actually going out to the track. We're going out to the field with the things that we're selling. So that was sort of the biggest uphill climb we had. Fast forward from 92, 10 years later in early 2000, now functional training sort of went the other way. It went too far. So It became sort of a circus act. It was sort of like everything was preaching now functional training in the name of functional training, that it was, that it was just crazy style training. And that's not what it was. So what we felt in early 2000 is we had to, we were still sponsoring seminars and sponsoring educators, but in the late 90s, we felt that we had to do our own education on functional training. So that's when we started our Perform Better 1-day seminar series. And we started with just one in 1998 in Boston. We had some success with it. But it was sort of a grassroots program. We weren't looking to be a seminar company. We were just looking at how do we educate people on what functional training is, and not the circus act functional training.
Right.
The what is its principles and why is it important?
Got it. So through the 90s, you were really just sponsoring different educators that really connected with, what you were selling and your philosophy. And then eventually in the 2000s, then it was more like, hey, let's bring this in-house, maybe bring some of the presenters in-house and kind of make it centered around a big 1-day seminar with lots of different minds in the same room.
Correct. Yep. That's very, very simple philosophy. I mean, we were doing dozens of other shows, and we were bringing speakers into other shows. And we were like, a quicker way for us to get our word out is to do our own shows.
Right.
And instead of just bringing one speaker in, bring 4 speakers in,
right.
To a 1-day event and have them at different areas in the country.
Right. And I mean, it obviously impacted your ability to sell products, because you wouldn't continue to do it for 15, 20 years if it didn't have an impact on moving some product as well. And so let's talk about that piece, because you're kind of pre-internet stage and then you're also kind of post-internet stage.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning, was it a lot of like catalogs, people fill out the form, send it in, send the check in, send the product? How did that work early on?
Well, we were always a catalog. So catalog was our number one source of marketing. Obviously, we did variety of shows and in different mailings of different sorts, but the catalog was our biggest part. We mailed our catalog. We printed it. We mailed it multiple times a year. We were live on the phone. So we had salesmen that we were able to answer questions. Still to this day, even with the rise of the web, and the web has taken a big percentage of that. Mm-hmm. But we're still roughly about 80% of our business is done over the phone.
Okay. Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that. So that's just someone calling in and being like, hey, I need X, Y, and Z, write me up, and then go from there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. So was there a transition time between when we had to get on this internet bandwagon? Because like late 90s, early 2000s, when did you guys start to really embrace kind of the digital footprint?
Well, it's the digital footprint. I mean, we obviously, like everybody else, we started with our web, and it had some success in the early 2000s, and it was growing, and it still does very well. but what we were hitting through our web is we were hitting customers of trainers. So our market is we're a commercial market. So, we say, we always tell people that we sell to professionals, meaning who we're selling our products to is not the people who are using it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We sell it majority is people who are using it in their business, like a coach, a personal trainer, a gym, a physical therapist. They're buying it to use with their patients or their clients or their athletes. So everything we do is basically based around commercial. It's got to have commercial use. But the web was sort of our way to get to the consumer. But we were finding, who the consumers that were finding us were consumers that were either training with a trainer who was using our products, or they were an athlete that had a coach that was using it. And it wasn't, it's easy. It's fun to joke about now, but you go back, 20 years ago, and it was very difficult. You did a search for agility ladder 20 years ago, and there was maybe us and maybe two others. Right. You do a search for agility ladder today, and there's hundreds. If you did a search 20 years ago for a medicine ball, I think we probably had the top 5 spots, and there was probably only maybe 4 or 5 others on there. Right. Now there's pages. There's about 15 pages of medicine balls.
So, that's a good thing, I think, to segue into is like, how do you, with the rise of Amazon, with the rise of, drop shipping, with the rise of globalization and the ability to get things from everywhere, right? The market is it's a lot busier, right? It's a lot noisier than it was many, many years ago. So how do you guys at Perform Better think about that, and how you kind of position yourselves as the place for coaches to go and get stuff?
Sure. Well, it's definitely a lot of competition, and obviously we started off in a market that there was very little competition to today, which is a good sign of the products. Obviously, they're doing what they're supposed to do. They became very, very popular, and obviously they're around, which obviously is a lot with how functional training shows how far functional training has come. But for us, we go back to our philosophy of why we started the seminars. We started the seminars to educate, but not only just to educate, but to make relationships. So that was our big thing in our seminars, was to create a learning environment where we could meet our customers and develop relationships with them. So it was really more about the seminars became really more of a relationship gathering. It was an easier way where we were in a facility for either a full day or for 3 days with our summits with our customers to basically to show them who we are, what we do, what our staff does, who our people are, and to sort of create a relationship with them to, give them the opportunity to give them choices of if they want to buy from us, or they'll know a lot more about us and who we are. And not just education, not just a product company, right? Know our individual people.
Right. Yeah. And it's a testament to kind of how things have evolved as well. And so early on, were you doing them in gyms? Were you doing them in different kind of locations, or were you doing them in the ballroom style like they are now?
Yeah, a little bit of each. For the majority, we would do them at either convention centers or hotels. The tough thing for us with our seminars is because we always had a hands-on component to it. So the tough part of a hands-on component is having space. A lecture, you can, 3,000 square feet, you can put 150 people in. Right. But in 3,000 square feet, you can have a lecture in it, with 150, but you can't do a hands-on with 150 people. So we were looking for places that had like 10,000 square feet of open space where we could just open everything up and just had area to move around and to do the things and to do a full hands-on. Right.
Yeah. And you guys, like looking at the seminars now, you guys ship a truckload of equipment to, across the country, because you guys are on the East Coast and you're doing seminars in Orlando and Chicago and Long Beach. And so do you guys just load up a semi truck and pay someone to drive it across the country?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So pretty much on the summits, we basically, we fill a full 40-foot truck. You know, we will, you know, we don't do it ourselves. You know, we obviously hire, we deal with freight companies and stuff like that, but we get, you know, we obviously shop out specific rates to bring equipment out because we could be bringing 30,000 pounds out to Long Beach, you know, a full truck, 24 skids out to Long Beach to use out there. So it does get very expensive in doing that. But it obviously we realized at such an early spot how beneficial our seminars were to us, you know, from everything, from the education standpoint to the relationship building, everything. It was such a invaluable part to us that it was definitely, we found that it was worth it to do that. It was worth it to have these all over the place. Right.
And when did you guys decide to branch out of the East Coast and start going across the country with this stuff?
Good question. Everything we did from 98 was our first seminar, 1 days. And then in 2002, we started a summit, but we only started here in Providence. So we're pretty much in the Northeast up until the 1 day started moving outward in 2000. So we started moving a little bit out west in 2000 with 1 days, but the summits didn't start till about 94.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 2004.
2004. Okay.
2004, we started moving west with the summits. You know, we added, you know, first time we went, Long Beach was our second one. And then I think 2 years later, we added Chicago. And then I think like 5 years later, we added Orlando.
Right. Is there any plans to expand more? Or is for like, that's enough?
We had plans. I think, obviously COVID slowed us down right now. We were ramping up speed in 2019 and our seminars were all growing and everything was, just like everybody else in the fitness world, everything was ramping up and doing well. And then obviously COVID hit, which, COVID still has played a toll on live events. It still is, there's still a lot of people that are not comfortable enough to go to live events. And there is a lot of education online where people can find that, which obviously is beneficial to everybody, where they don't have to leave their house to find educational information. But we're still seeing that we're not quite back there. Last year we saw that it was our first year back with 3 of the summits. And we were seeing that I was hoping for 50% back. And we were about 60% back last year.
Right.
We started our 1 day series back again this year, and our 1 day series a little bit stronger. They're about 70% of what they were. They're still not quite at 100%. I'm hoping the summits this summer are going to be at about 80%. Right. I think at 80%, but I think 2024, 25, I think it's, for us right now, it feels like where we were, 10, 15 years ago, trying to grow them back, trying to grow the seminars up. Right. Because it's going to take some time. It's definitely going to take some time to grow them back.
Yeah. I don't think you're alone in that boat. We even see it in the gym world where it's just like, people just aren't quite ready and you're starting to see a little bit more, but it's kind of like you said, it's like you're 5 years, 10 years in the past and you just have to start to grow it again.
Exactly.
So I'm just kind of curious from like a logistics standpoint, because you guys are moving a lot of product all over the US, and probably internationally as well.
Correct.
And so what's the biggest challenge you guys have from like a product standpoint? Because when a customer orders something, they expect it to kind of be on their doorstep, within 2, 5, 7 days. And you're getting orders and you can probably predict a little bit about what people are going to buy, but it's not an exact science. So how do you guys manage the logistics of like having enough inventory, but not having too much inventory? We have all this cash tied up, or having too little inventory where you can't get product out on time. How do you manage that entire process?
It's a very difficult process. And that's always, that's always a question of talk, because you can have too much inventory. I mean, too much inventory I've seen take companies down. Companies become, too much inventory and not selling enough will hurt a company. And that's, it's a battle that we're always fighting. We're always trying to get, make sure we have enough of the items that sell consistently. There's always curveballs. There's always problems. There's always, when you carry 2,500 products, different products, there's always a product that has a problem or a delay.
Yep.
You just hope it's not your major problem. You hope it's not your major product, one that sells on a daily basis. We have a great warehouse manager and purchasing agent. We do a great job with trying to be prepared. We don't let ourselves dwindle all the way down where we always, our goal is always to have 3 to 4 months of inventory on the shelf.
Okay.
Which, by the way, we inventory about 80% of the items we sell.
Okay.
So we have a 120,000 square foot warehouse. We have a very big warehouse, 40 plus feet high. So we go up six levels up.
Right.
It's basically would be a typical image if you went out and saw a warehouse. That's our warehouse out back. Thankfully we do carry enough inventory, but there's always going to be a hiccup somewhere. There's always going to be that one product that just has a problem, whether there was a manufacturing delay or manufacturers missing something in the product that they couldn't get it to you for. So it's always a battle. We've gotten better at it over time. But there's always going to be something. So I guess the good news is we've seen all. We've had delays on pretty much every single product, but we're always going to do our best to keep our shelves full, and have that inventory ready to ship out.
Right. And you guys, you don't have a physical store or anything there, do you?
We don't.
Okay.
We don't. So we have a gym inside of our building, which our gym is sort of our store. It's a showroom. Yep. It's a working gym. Our staff works out in it. That's pretty much who works out in it. But it mainly is a showroom. It's a showroom of about 60%, 70% of the items we carry are in there. So people can come into the gym and they can see exactly everything in there and they can use it. They can try it out. They can get on it.
It's probably like a trainer's dream. They go in there and they see every piece of equipment they've ever wanted and just set up in a sweet space.
It is. Yeah. People come in and say, I would love to train in this place. This is, it's 3,000 square feet. It's about 2,800 square feet. Yeah. It's a good sized gym. We hold seminars in it. So we do hold seminars here individual at our facility. So we have a conference room that can seat about 75 people. So we can do in-house seminars, which we're back up doing again. And we can bring them into the gym and they can get their hands on inside there and do that. So, but you're right. We'd get a lot of trainers that say, God, I'd love to have everything in here.
Right. So, I mean, would you consider Perform better than an equipment company that also does education, or are you an education company that also sells equipment? How would you kind of prioritize?
It's what I tell people usually, Trevor, is I tell people that, we make our money in equipment sales. Right. It pays our bills. Right. What pays our heart and our fun and what we love to do is education. So it's sort of the passion for us. We've started with education from the very start with sponsoring speakers. So we've always been heavily involved in education. So from that standpoint, it's some people think of us as an education company that sells products, but the true honesty is our bills get paid by selling equipment, but our passion gets paid by running seminars.
As a gym owner, Coach Catalyst is the key to having low turnover. For several years, I struggled and spent 10 to 20 hours a week communicating with clients via phone calls, Facebook Messenger, email, and text messages. I had tried everything to make my life more efficient. I was at my wit's end. And then I found Coach Catalyst. Since starting the software, I have found a life again, and my clients are thanking me for being so involved in their fitness life. I've cut my daily commitment to interacting with over 300 clients to under 15 minutes a day and have streamlined my 6-week challenges. I couldn't recommend it more. I just don't know if I would even be here today if it wasn't for Coach Catalyst. If you don't have an account already, you're missing out and not helping the people you could be.
That's awesome. Let's go back and look at a 2-year period that really challenged a lot of businesses. And probably from you guys, from an inventory standpoint of trying to get stuff and get it out. When all of this went down in 2020, how did you guys react? How did you adapt to the changing landscape as gyms were shutting down? They weren't able to operate, probably not buying equipment. But there's this other sector, this home sector, that's really starting to explode. How did you guys adapt in that to continue to kind of serve the market, but maybe in a different way?
Sure. When everything went south, or that I remember vaguely that weekend I was out. I was flying actually when the first news of it came on about it was, I believe it was a Wednesday that we were talking that COVID came here to the States. Mm-hmm. It's popping up. It's running rampant. Things were going to start to shut down. They were going to shut down on Monday. I was on my way. I was on a flight. I watched the news on the flight going out to California. I was going to Alan Cosgrove's mastermind group.
Okay. Yep.
So I was going out there with, he had 25 gym owners there that I knew every single one of them. And we were talking for the next, day and a half of what's going to happen, because we knew things were going to shut down on Monday. Right. Obviously we thought the initial 2 weeks was going to happen. Well, what happened when I was there is a couple of the trainers who were getting ready to who knew they had to shut down because they heard the same news the day before. They basically were saying to me, is there something we can do with my clients to get them to have some equipment at their house so we can do some maybe Zoom training or mm-hmm. some virtual reality training? And on the way coming back from that flight, I just remember, right, we have to do something that helps these trainers maintain their customers, because if they don't maintain their customers, they're no longer going to be a customer of ours. Right. So we got to help in any way we can figure out what we're going to do. So we came back that Monday, everything was shutting down. Everybody was moving out of the office. I stayed, everyone was working from home, went to go work from home, and we got on a team call and we basically said that we had to go out. One of the things we have to do is we have to contact all of our coaches and talk about, are you doing virtual reality stuff? We mm-hmm. had to basically help them find ways to maintain their clients. Mm-hmm. The very first thing we did was, I think within a week, we did a Zoom workshop with Tom Plummer that basically mm-hmm. we came on to talk, trying to do a Zoom free, and they were all free during COVID. Mm-hmm. And we were just trying to basically help trainers, like give them some ideas of what are you going to do with your clients? How do you do it? And at the time, all of it was, all right, virtual reality training and doing Zoom. And so we were putting together all my staff was getting with their customers, and they were basically putting packages together. They were giving discount codes so that they could pass them on they could give them to their clients, or our customers that could give to their clients. Mm-hmm. To do if they needed anything. And so that was the first, 2 to 3 months of COVID was trying to service our customers, and which in return was servicing their customers, right. Which is, I never thought it was, we basically survived in COVID for the first couple of months because of our customer's customer. Mm-hmm. They relied on us to get equipment to them. And, right. As anyone will tell you, for the first 6 months in fitness, it was crazy business. I mean, everyone was looking for the quick home because no one knew how long the gym was going to be closed for. Right. So, and then we even had the general consumer population, because at the time, then all of a sudden Amazon was running out of dumbbells, yep. And we had a really, really good supply of that. We had a lot of containers come in, in January and February, just before March hit. So we were pretty much geared up and had a lot of things on the water coming in. We were pretty much geared up with some really big inventory, because that's not just because it wasn't for COVID. It was just, that's what we generally do year to year. We build up, we build up inventory in January and February. Okay. And so we were very fortunate that we had inventory, but eventually things were flying off the shelf, and it was going in every direction. So it became about 6 months later, we hit the end of the summer, middle of the summer, and we were starting to run short of stuff. We couldn't get things, now we're scrambling. So now our entire time is spent for the middle part of 2020 is trying to find inventory. How do we get inventory? How do we get our manufacturers to produce more when they're even shut down? They're not producing stuff. So that was sort of it was a difficult process, like it was for everyone. I mean, we had the good and the bad. We had a lot of sales, but with a lot of sales became a lot of, okay, we ran out of a lot of things very quickly.
Right.
So it sort of, by the end of the summer, the fall, we were sort of, we had a lot of blank holes in inventory that we just could not keep in stock.
Right.
And we fought that into the better half of 2021 with building back inventory.
So as a company, were you able to kind of stay fully staffed, or did you have to kind of, tighten the belts a little bit? Or how were you able to operate from a staffing standpoint?
Sure. Trev, we kept everyone. So the first thing we did actually was we moved everyone from home. So one of the nice things that we had in play that we were getting ready for was a digital phone service. So we had it just because, long story short, but we're up here in the Northeast, and one of the things we were thinking, we'd always have a couple snow days, 2 or 3 snow days. And one of the things we were thinking of is getting a digital phone line.
Okay. Yeah.
To that people could work from home, with a digital line. They didn't have to have their phone number, their phone going right to them. So what we ended up, so earlier in that year or later 2019, we bought a digital phone system. We just didn't implement it yet.
Okay.
So it was literally the day of March where everyone came in the morning. Everyone came in to get their digital phone. So we switched it over on that very Monday where everyone went home. So even to this day, I've come in every day since. I'm the only one that comes in. Our office manager comes in about once a week, usually the end of the week. All my staff is still at home. Everyone still works from home. They come in, to get their mail. They come in to bring customers into the gym, to check up. But still to this day, we did such a good job of being able to work from home.
All right, Chris. So we had a little disconnect there. So we're going to come back to the digital phone service. So you took you kind of had something in place, but you hadn't really implemented it. So how did that all work out?
Correct. So it was the first day of use was basically the first day that every business was shut down and everyone went home for the 2 weeks. And that was the first day that that Monday morning, everyone came in for their phones, their digital phones that they could go home and plug into their modem. We started before that, within the last year before that, we started to get everyone PCs. And so that they could, so they could take their laptops with them traveling and shows. So basically they would just come in the morning and plug it into their screen here at their desk. And they were able to take their computer home every night with them. So we had everything ready to go. It just, we never did it before. We never had anyone work from home. So we maintained, you asked if we kept everyone, we maintained everyone. We never let anyone go because of COVID. We went, some of the things in the warehouse, because we still had to ship things, is we went to multiple shifts so we could disperse the people. We kept them in certain areas so they wouldn't come close to each other. Right. We played it very, very safe with what we could do and how we could do things. But, we were able to make it work by changing things around. And to this day, everyone is working from home. We found it that it's working for everyone. I'm still here in the facility. As our office manager comes in once a week, our staff comes in to get their mail every now and then. They come in to bring customers into the gym. But for the most part, everyone still, we feel that we did it and we did a good job of doing it, that we might as well keep doing, because we have some people that travel a distance to come into work. So we felt it was beneficial for them. Did a survey. Right. People liked working from home. And it was working. So for us, it was working that we did it, and we're still doing it.
So you've stayed with the truly work from home. It's not necessarily a hybrid approach where they're coming in a couple of days of the week to the office. Yeah. They're spending their entire days at home. Exactly.
Yep. Fully at home. They have the option. They can come in if they want, but they. Yep.
So I'm curious from just like a meeting standpoint or like a connection standpoint, is there anything you guys are doing now? Because there's just natural things that happen in the office when people are around. You stop by someone's desk and you say hi and you chit chat for a little bit, and there's these like connections that build between employees. Is there anything that you're conscious consciously doing now to maybe try and, fulfill that need a little bit?
No, it's difficult. And you're right. There's a lot that we're missing from not being around. And I'll be the first to tell you, do I think that we're operating at 100% the way we're doing it? No, we're still missing something. We're missing that early chat, from people walking by. We're missing the chat from someone hearing what someone's talking to someone on the phone about. If there's a problem with a product, everyone gets the word out. Usually it's one person starts saying it in the office and then people hear it and then people ask over what was going on with that product. So there's a lot that's being lost. I mean, obviously, like everybody else, we've become very big fans of Zoom. We use a chat tool with each other. So we have inter-office chats going that people can share messages to each other and with what's going on. So we try to compound that. But again, I agree. There's nothing like being in the office. It's just that we felt that, we're doing it. People have done it for a while. Everyone got used to it. Everyone's sort of accustomed to working from home. Is it going to be like that forever? I don't know. I don't think so. I think eventually we'll be back. I just don't know when.
So employees, like this whole work from home thing can definitely be a challenge. What are some other challenges that Perform Better is really trying to work through right now in today's environment?
The other challenge is shows were a big part of our marketing. At one point, not just our seminars, but, as I tell people, we did 20, 25 seminars of our own. However, we did about 75 seminars of other.
Oh, wow.
Other sources of education, other conferences. So most of them have come back, but they've come back with the same percentages. So some of them have, that's really a challenge because it used to be a big part of our sales team of meeting new customers. That was a big part of that. Now that they're slowly coming back, it makes it a little bit difficult. And I would definitely say that that's a challenge of not having all the people back traveling and doing educational events.
What other marketing methods have you guys used that have worked well?
Oh God, through the course of 30 years, we've used quite a bit of different marketing tools. We've advertised, obviously, social media. We've advertised through search ads. We've done, the main part of our advertising is direct media campaign, which will go through organizations. So we'll go to the governing bodies, whether it's IRSA for health clubs, or it's NSCA for strength coaches, or Collegiate Strength Coaches Association, or, if it's a variety of whether it's ACE or any ACSM or any of the other governing bodies for personal trainers. We've advertised direct media ads in their publications. We've done some on their website. So we've dabbled in a little bit of everything, and sort of we've done, with marketing, you have to do sort of a shotgun approach especially when things are new, of trying things out. So I can tell you we've had probably success in all of them, but we haven't had sustained success in all of them. Right. So I think it's just so for us it's still we still try to do a little bit different. We'll still try to do a little shotgun approach where if it's something that we want to try out and see how it works.
But education marketing is definitely that's your workhorse, the day to day.
Correct. Yeah. Education marketing is pretty big for us, especially getting people to our seminars. Yep. For that, we use a lot of social media, and email campaigns. That's pretty much how we're doing marketing on social media. Obviously the catalog is a big part of it. It's listing it inside there. We do a little direct mail, but it's the direct mail on it's really more of the dates. It's a little bit of more of a postcard direct mail type of thing, letting people know it's coming up. The problem with direct mail is it's so expensive. It's especially in printing. Printing and paper is really expensive right now too. So you can't do a good shotgun approach to direct mailing because it's just so expensive. So you have to dabble and do little bits here and there. Other than our catalog, which has basically been a direct mail hit for a long time. We've seen some success to some sort in a lot of different areas, but it's just never the same. It's what I may had success 5 years ago doing. I may not have success at doing it today.
Right. So, I mean, for an organization like Perform Better, do you set aside like X amount of or X percentage of gross revenue that goes towards kind of marketing? Or how do you guys figure out how much to spend on marketing? Because it's probably pretty challenging to get a direct correlation. Like, did this sale come from our magazine, or did this sale come from this direct mail, or did this sale come from an ad on the internet? Like, trying to track that customer is probably pretty challenging.
We try to track it with codes as best we can.
Right.
And it gives us an idea. It doesn't give us the full picture. You know what I mean? It gives us a little snippet of it. Especially because there's so many different ways that we market, that it's coming, from all, Perform Better is where we're trying to hit people in all different areas. So it does get a little bit complicated. However, we've gotten very good with email campaigns. Probably a little too heavy at times where we'll have to slow them back and cut them back a little bit.
Okay.
We're always trying to at least give good content through our email campaigns. But it gets difficult. The one main source that we have, which is obviously is the shows, that as we talked about a little bit earlier, is the shows are, that's all part of our marketing budget. And we do put a percentage out. And depending on how the previous year went, we will either add to it. We'll analyze it again. We'll see where we'll try to figure out what worked, what didn't work. But there's so many different areas that we try to dabble in that we just keep, every year trying something a little bit new, not changing the overall picture of it, but just changing a little bit where the money goes around, spreading that money around a little bit differently.
Right. I like it. What's the favorite part about your day or your involvement with Perform Better? My guess is your hands are in a lot of different things, because you're kind of directing this ship, but where do you feel like your strengths are? Where do you feel like you have the most fun with Perform Better?
Well, I mean, obviously, with being the general manager of Perform Better, I handle everything from, sales, marketing, the education, the people, the staff, a little bit of everything. I'd probably tell you, you probably caught a wind of this earlier when we were talking about the seminars, but the seminars are something that really excites me. Obviously I know it's a part of the overall picture, but the seminar, I like working on our educational events. I like the people. I like our educators. We have a great group of presenters. So anytime I'm working into our education department or working with our education, it's sort of probably I don't want to say it's the best part of my day because it's not an every day I'm working on education, but It just so happens to be right now is a big part of it because I'm working on the summit. So the last month has been a big part of the education from my times of working on it.
And so on the flip side, what's your biggest challenge of being a general manager?
Well, there's always a lot of challenges. Obviously, I think the challenges right now is of, not having people in the office. It's very tough to manage people when they're not directly in front of you. There's only so much we know from the computer reports and what everyone's doing. But I would probably say that's probably the hardest part is managing while where there's nobody in the office.
Right.
It was a lot easier prior to COVID of managing people.
Yeah. You don't see them face to face. You don't have those little 2-minute interactions. You don't have all those connections that happen spontaneously. And I think with remote working, you have to be a lot more intentional about it and finding ways to be intentional about it, or else it just doesn't happen because it's, you're not in the same space, right?
Correct.
So I need to fact check Vince Gabriel on this. I just had Vince on, it was probably a couple weeks ago. And Vince claims that he solidified his spot on the Perform Better tour because of an incident at a German restaurant. Would you agree or disagree with that story?
Publicly, privately, it's Vince solidified his spot because Vince is Vince, is who he is. Vince is a great educator. Vince is a smart mind. Vince is a good person. Vince was a great customer. Vince had everything to it. Was it the German restaurant that solidified it in Chicago? No.
I like it. Yeah, it's a great story. Vince has told me a couple times, and he told it on the podcast. So I thought I'd bring it up again just to make sure that he's not telling many lies. But that's awesome.
For people who haven't been to that and have heard, it sounds pretty medievalish of getting that, but it's. Believe it or not, that was part of the restaurant.
Yeah. And Vince says he didn't flinch. Is that true? Is that he didn't flinch, or maybe there was a little bit?
Maybe not a flinch in his body, but you could see something in his face. I think everyone has a flinch in their face when they feel it, because it's not something that you feel every day.
Right. And for those of you listening, if you don't know what we're talking about, you have to go back to the episode with Vince Gabriel and hear Vince tell the story, because it's pretty fun. But I think that's one thing that's nice about the Perform Better tour is you have a lot of the same guys year over year, guys and girls. But you also bring in some new, fresh faces. And so there's a little bit of continuity, even between the speakers. Like, it feels more like, family is probably the closest term I can get to it. Where people know each other. They know you really well. It's not just like hey, I show up and I speak and I'm out. It's like, hey, I'm going to speak. I'm going to interact. I'm going to be at the bar. I'm going to mingle with everyone that's there, and everyone is really approachable. And so was that something that was really conscious from the beginning, where you want this to be more like a family event than just like your professional speakers on stage, they do their thing and then they're out?
Definitely. And that was something that we started. One of the things I always hated about seminars a long time ago was there was always presenters where people would always want to ask them questions afterwards, and they would be like, "Oh, I got to go catch my flight," or I got to get back here. I'm going to lie. And just, I always felt it was just as important of what you said when you're on the stage as what you say when you're off the stage talking to people. And a great presentation can get a negative feedback when you get down. If people are going up to you and asking questions, and you want to sneak out the back door. That was something that I've always told the presenters, that, hey guys, and that's why I bring a lot of people back, and about 85% of them come back every year. Now, obviously I have to put new ones on. So each year we put 10 new presenters on, because I always got to see who's going to be that next person. Who's going to be the next Mike Boyle, who's going to be the next Vince Gabriel, who's going to be that next one. But the guys that have been there for a while, they know that they get treated like family. They, as we say to them, and as I talk to everyone in the email, we call them the Perform Better team. Like they're on tour with us. They're our Perform Better team. They are like our family. They are a big part of us. And even though they may none of them don't directly work for Perform Better, but they indirectly work for Perform Better, because what they say on stage actually reflects us if it's at our event. If it's our event, and it, so it's we always want to make that warm and friendly environment, because I always feel that that's the best environment to learn in. When everyone's guards down and there's no ego to anyone that's in the room and everyone's sharing ideas. That's, to me, is the best part of a seminar. That's the best part of gathering people in the fitness industry. And that's one thing that I always try to make sure that we have at our events, is that people look at it like that we're easy to talk to, we're always available for them. Even the presenters, they're always around. And that's why you'll see a lot of our presenters that when they come to an event, they just don't come speak and leave. Most of them are there staying for the entire event. And you'll see them in sessions. They're there learning and listening to other people as well.
Right.
So that's the environment that it's not something I had to tell anyone. It's just the environment that just created itself, you know. And I think people who don't fit into that environment, they usually will end up being one and done, or 2 years and done. They just don't fit into the whole group. So it's really about fitting in with everyone and being around everyone. And so yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because we've always treated them all like family. You know, all of our speakers are our family because they're representing Perform Better.
Right.
As a coach that runs challenges, I needed my life back. I had stuff all over the place. A Facebook group for community interaction, Google Sheets for check-ins and measurements, and was drowning in email communication. As my challenges grew past just a handful of people, I started to notice clients were falling through the cracks. I began researching virtual assistants because I just couldn't manage it all. And truthfully, the client experience was going down the drain. Luckily, a friend recommended Coach Catalyst and just told me to trust her. I'm sure glad I did. Now I can run my challenges with 2 or 200 clients with just a few clicks. The lessons get delivered on the right days, the accountability happens automatically, and most importantly, the communication is all in one spot. I even created 2 new challenges from the Coach Catalyst library. Best part, didn't have to change a thing. I used to spend 15 minutes just trying to log into all the apps I needed. Now I log in and my dashboard tells me who needs a shout out and who needs a kick in the butt in about 15 seconds. I feel like a huge weight is lifted off of my shoulders. I can finally spend my time coaching again instead of worrying about all the admin work. Do your brain a favor and get Coach Catalyst.
And the events are top notch. I've been to a number of different events at different locations, and you guys always do a phenomenal job. So hats off to you guys on that one. What's next for Perform Better? Is it kind of build back what was there before COVID? Is it something else? What's the next 5 years look like?
Sure. So obviously if we didn't have this hiccup with COVID, I think we'd be on to something different, and we'd be growing a lot of areas of our education. Right now, our initial thought is to build back. How do we get our education back to where it was? How do we get the numbers back? How do we pick the numbers back up? And we realize we have to be patient. We realize that there's a lot less trainers in the industry that there is now that there were before in 2019. Unfortunately, a lot of gyms closed. Ursa claims that there was almost 30% of the gyms closed. That's right. It's almost 1 in every 3. That's a lot of trainers that are no longer training.
Right.
So but the demand is still there. There's still a demand for trainers, and there's still a demand for fitness. Obviously, that's never going away. And my big tangent during COVID is I always thought COVID was going to be great for the fitness world, because I felt that like everything we know about fitness is we know it's good for you.
Right.
we know it's good for you. Right. I wasn't, when gyms were the last to open up, it was sort of a shock to me, like, oh my God, this has gone way too political, because everybody in fitness knows that fitness is good for you. It's good for mindset. It's good for your body. It's good,
Right.
It's usually people who exercise or also eat right. They build their immunity system. Like it's the group that's probably the least affected from COVID. Mm-hmm. So I thought there'd be more people coming on board to the fitness train of saying, okay, I'm a little bit worried about my body. I got to get myself ready just in case I get COVID. And, but I've been very, very disappointed in that sense that it hasn't come out and said, hey guys, this, have we forgotten what fitness proven 50 years ago, that it's good for you, that it's good for your immune system. It's good for your mindset. Like there's so many positives to fitness, but that could combat COVID. But I was a little surprised at that, but I'm very hopeful that it will be. And I think that the fitness world still will grow. I think people got to realize that if you want to truly live longer, you have to exercise. You have to treat your body right.
It's a worthy battle, 100%. And I think there's a lot of really good people that are in that fight and willing to do whatever they can to help spread the word, help motivate people, help inspire people. And you guys are a big part of that. And so we appreciate what you're doing for the industry.
Thanks, Trevor. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, let's kind of wrap this thing up. And how I like to wrap a lot of things up is with some quick rapid fire questions that are completely unrelated to anything that we've talked about so far. So they'll be quick, pretty easy, and just kind of give me the first thing that comes to mind. So we've got taco, burrito, or quesadilla. I know you're an East Coast guy, but what do you got?
Burrito.
Burrito?
Burrito guy.
Okay. Are there any favorite burrito spots in Providence?
Unfortunately not. No. Unfortunately, I have my one son, my youngest son, is a huge burrito fan, and he would probably do burritos every day for lunch. So if he's getting something for lunch on a weekend, he's getting a burrito, and he's asking me if I want one. So it's probably going to be a burrito from he goes
Chipotle.
Chipotle is probably his number one choice.
All right. I like it. I have a lot of respect for your son since he's a Chipotle lover. All right. What cartoon world do you wish you could live in for a week? Cartoon world that you could be part of for a week.
Cartoon world. Bugs Bunny Roadrunner would be my cartoon that I'd love to live in that.
Doing some
nobody on the roads
and
just old school Looney Tunes. Yeah.
I love it. All right. Is there anything you've purchased recently for under $100 that has had either profound impact on your life or just had insane value where it was worth way more than what you paid for it? Anything come to mind? Some people think of like tech. Some people think of like books. Some people
under $100. See, that's the tough part right there. What have I gotten under $100?
Are there any cool tools that you've gotten lately that have helped? Any good books that you've picked up lately that have that you've really enjoyed?
I'm stumped.
That's right.
I wish I wasn't. That's a very difficult question, but I generally don't buy too many things for myself. So it's under $100. No, I can't think of anything that has changed or rocked my world.
Okay. I like it. All right. Last one. If you could have dinner with anyone on the planet, past or present, who would you sit down and break bread with?
Past or present? I would love to have dinner with Michael Jordan.
Okay. I love it. My MJ. So I'm an MJ guy. I like LeBron. I respect LeBron and everything that he's doing, but like I'm an MJ guy till my last day.
Yeah.
So I assume you watched The Last Dance.
Yes, of course.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
What the mindset from some human beings. I mean, you see it in a lot of elite, like I think Kobe had a piece of it, a big piece of it. MJ for sure. They're just on another planet. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You could see with him in how he, the game to him was never a game. It was never a joke. It was about winning. But I think Michael is like, that's him personally. You would put him on any team and he would make everybody better around him.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, and those can be challenging individuals to deal with because of the standards that they set, not only for themselves, but for everyone else around them.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. But you look at even outside of basketball, whether it was golf or whether it was card games or anything, like it's kind of like a win at all costs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. What did he say in there? There's not a single game that he didn't go play that he didn't do his best to win. And that's how he, I don't know. I like winners. And to me is the ultimate winner. And everything is rated as either a win or a loss to him. There's no in between. It's either,
it's black and white.
It's black. Yeah. It's either you win or you lose.
I love it. I think it's awesome. Always up for talking some MJ. So glad you brought that one up. I like it. Well, Chris, I appreciate you hanging out with me, and man, keep doing what you're doing at Perform Better. If people want to find out more about Perform Better, what are some best places to get a hold of you guys?
Sure. The website, actually performbetter.com, very simple one. We're actually launching our summit schedule next week. So after 6 weeks of putting it together, it's finally out. There's just a couple of revisions I'm making, a couple of corrections. But it's first next week. It should be coming out. We got some great lineups planned. We got some great presenters speaking on some great topics. Another thing I'd like, a lot of people don't realize we have this, Trevor, and I love to say this to everyone, is we have an app, a Perform Better app. It's a free app to everyone. So they can either Android or iPhone, iOS, they can go and they can download the Perform Better app. So what we've been doing is we've been building it out for the last 4 years with education. So we have a huge education component on it. I believe we have over 350 presentations on there. So there's a lot of education from, I think Vince has like 3 or 4 talks on there. You can pretty much go in and find any topic you want, and there'll be somebody doing a presentation on it. We just started this year to that app is building it out as an exercise library too. So we're building an exercise library onto it. That's our second component. So we're building it out. Whereas, hey, you have, I don't know, just say you have a Perform Better product, a kettlebell or a med ball, and you want to find things to do with it. You can go you search the product and you go into it and you can find a million things to do with a kettlebell on side there. So it's quick of the touch. So there's education, there's information. So not only can you get the information on the exercise, but you can go and watch the videos of the education to find out why the exercise. So there's a lot of information on there.
And they can just go to the App Store, download it, probably create a login, and then be able to have access to all this content.
Exactly. Yep.
That's awesome. Man, that's great. We'll make sure all that's in the show notes as well. And so, Chris, appreciate you coming on, man.
Trev, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Man, it's a lot of fun. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Coach Catalyst podcast. If you are a coach looking to do more for your clients than just workouts, give Coach Catalyst a test drive. Try it for 14 days. Jump on call with your personal strategy coach, Ashley, and see how easy technology can be, all for free. Tell them Trevor sent you. Until next time, keep changing lives.